Coca-Cola sells 2 billion drinks every single day. But their biggest competitor isn't Pepsi, like you all know, or like you all might have been thinking. It was actually water. So, how did Coke convince the world that one drink human needs for survival isn't enough? Now, this is the psychological war that built a $300 billion empire. All right, before we unravel how Coca-Cola turned a simple drink into a $300 billion empire, welcome back if you're returning and welcome in. And welcome if you're new to the channel, you're new to the page. If stories about branding, human psychology, hidden strategies behind global companies fascinates you, hit that like and share this to a friend. Leave a comment so more people can discover this breakdown. Now, let's explore how Coke went to war with water and won. Should I say the one? No, you know, at least they stood a chance. Okay. Now, Coca-Cola didn't win because their drinks taste better. They won because they changed human perception. Now they turned a simple flavored drink into a symbol of happiness, into a symbol of youth, of empowerment, of celebration. They added that energy, that vibe into it. Whereas water, the literal source of life, became plain, like boring, or not satisfying enough. Now, this is one of the greatest marketing transformation in history. Now, Coke's story begins around 1887 when the pharmacist John Pemberton sold the first Coca-Cola in a drugstore. Now, at that time, water was free, right? So advertising was basic, refrigeration was rare. Um, Coke had little to no advantage, but they understood one thing: people don't buy drinks, they buy feelings. So Coke didn't market the beverage. Instead, they marketed an idea. Now, Coca-Cola used a strategy called emotional positioning. Now, instead of competing with water directly, Coke reframed the whole scenario, the whole problem, bringing out slogans, catchy slogans. Be like, yeah, water quenches thirst, while Coke satisfies you. This subtle shift created an emotional gap that water could never fill. Now, they built this perception with three psychological weapons. I'm going to talk about them. Now, the first one is association. So, Coke associated itself with sport, with parties, with Christmas, with family moments, with romance, with friendship, with victory. Then by the 1990s, the Coca-Cola Christmas truck was more iconic than Santa himself. When a brand becomes people part of comparing it to competitors. Now, secondly, the lifestyle marketing. Coke didn't want you to buy a drink. They didn't want to be a drink that you buy, just a drink that you buy. They wanted to be a drink that you live with. Open happiness, taste the feeling, share a Coke. Now, these were not just slogans, these were more like a command to our emotions. Now, Coke became liquid nostalgia, whereas water, well, became just water. Now, the third is availability. Like Coke was literally available anywhere you needed it. Coke executed the world's largest distribution expansion in rural villages, in schools, in stadiums, airports, hospital, restaurants, vending machines, gas stations. Coca-Cola built more global distribution points than some governments have built hospitals. Now, if you needed a drink, Coke was always there. Water wasn't branded and rarely should. Now the convenience became dominant. Are you following? Now, so Coca-Cola sells over 2 billion servings every day. and has more than 500 brands across drinks with a valuation over $300 billion. Now, Coca-Cola is available in over 200 countries, which is more than the UN recognizes. 94% of the world recognizes the Coca-Cola logo. Now, the company owns over one third of all global beverage distribution. Like, isn't that huge? Isn't that huge? Now, this is what happens when you turn a drink into a culture. So, Coca Cola didn't attack water directly, they created new drinking occasions. Like after sports, you drink pod, afternoon slump, you drink Coke, movie night, Coke. You want to have breakfast, you take simply juice. You're dehydrated, you have the sunny. Do you know that Coke also have a branded water, the sunny? Now, for those on diet, you have your Coke Zero, late night, Fanta, Sprite, a busy day, Sprite. Then for the kids, they always go for Fanta. So Coca-Cola won in various areas, whereas water could only win in one scenario, which is hydration. So Coke created a whole more new categories where water had no where they had no presence. Now that is how you beat the unbeatable. All right, so here are my entrepreneurial lessons for here are my lessons for my young entrepreneurs, my business-minded gurus over there. Now, you don't beat competition by fighting them directly. No, you win by reframing the problem. All right, create a new demand, own emotions, own distributions, be everywhere you know your customer is gonna look for you. Wherever you know your customers are gonna be, you know your target audience, you know where they are likely going to be. Try as much as possible to position yourself at that spot. Remember, success isn't luck, it is about positioning.